The quantum beacon screamed across 17 light-years of empty space, its message burning through the cosmic dark like a dying star's final breath. On the bridge of the dreadnought, eternal judgment. High Counselor Zethkar felt his 3 hearts skip in perfect, terrible synchronization. "Impossible," he whispered, his crystalline fingers trembling against the command console. The holographic display flickered with data that should not exist, could not exist. Humanity's home system glowed bright and angry red, marked with a single, devastating word, EMPTY. Behind him, the assembled Council of 12 stirred in their biopods. Centuries of accumulated wisdom suddenly feeling fragile as morning frost. They had come here to witness justice. They had come to watch the final chapter of a species they deemed too dangerous to live. Instead, they watched 30 billion humans vanish into the void like smoke in a hurricane. Council member Vishara, her serpentine form coiled in distress, spoke first. The planetary crackers were armed. The shields were down. "How did they escape?" Zethkar interrupted, his voice hollow. "All of them. Every ship, every station, every soul." He turned to face the council, and in his alien eyes was something none of them had seen in 3,000 years of galactic governance: fear. "The humans are gone, and we have no idea where they went." The silence that followed was the kind reserved for funerals and the end of worlds. Outside the viewport, Earth hung like a blue marble against the starfield, surface pristine and untouched, waiting, empty, a planet-sized monument to the greatest failure in Council history. "Tell me," Zethkar said, his voice carrying across, the chamber like a death knell. "How do you explain this to the galaxy? How do we tell them that we let the most dangerous species in known space slip through our fingers?" No one answered. There was no answer to give. The humans were gone, and the Council was left to face a terrifying truth. They had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. # Chapter 1. The verdict 72 hours earlier. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council stretched for nearly a kilometer in every direction, its bioluminescent walls pulsing with the collective heartbeats of 1,000 different species. Today, those hearts beat with anticipation. Today, after 50 years of debate, investigation, and careful deliberation, they would finally decide the fate of humanity. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood in the defendant's circle, her small human form dwarfed by the towering aliens that surrounded her. At 43, she had dedicated her entire adult life to this moment, to defending her species before a council that had already made up its mind. Her dark hair was streaked with premature gray, and her brown eyes held the weight of 30 billion souls. "The charges are clear," announced Prosecutor Thanarix, his forearms gesturing dramatically as his voice boomed through the hall's acoustic amplifiers. The insectoid prosecutor had been the Council's champion for 3 decades, and he had never lost a case. Humanity exhibits all 17 warning signs of a Class A extinction threat: rapid technological advancement, aggressive territorial expansion, resistance to Council authority, and most damning of all, the development of world-ending weapons. Within mere centuries of achieving spaceflight, Sarah felt her jaw clench. She had heard these arguments 1,000 times, had spent sleepless nights crafting counter-arguments that fell on deaf ears. The Council feared what humanity might become, not what they were. "The defendant may present her closing statement," High Counselor Zethkar announced from his elevated platform. His crystalline form caught the hall's light and scattered it in rainbow patterns across the floor. He was ancient, even by Council standards, and his voice carried the weight of centuries. Sarah stepped forward, her heels clicking against the polished floor. She had prepared a speech, 60 pages of carefully crafted arguments, historical precedents, and passionate pleas for mercy. Instead, she found herself speaking from the heart. "Honorable counselors," she began, her voice steady, despite the tremor in her hands. "You judge us for our weapons, but you ignore why we built them. You condemn our expansion, but you refuse to see that we expand to explore, not conquer. You fear our potential for destruction, but you willfully blind yourselves to our capacity for creation." A murmur rippled through the assembled delegates. This was not the desperate begging they had expected. In the past 50 years, while this council has debated our fate, humanity has cured 17 previously incurable diseases. We've developed sustainable fusion power and shared it freely with any species that asked. We've rescued 14 endangered alien cultures from extinction and asked for nothing in return. Sarah's voice grew stronger with each word. Yes. We are young. Yes, we are imperfect. But we are not the monsters you believe us to be. Counselor Vishara, her serpentine form, coiled in what humans would recognize as skepticism, spoke without permission. Pretty words, Ambassador Chen. But your species' history speaks louder. Wars, genocide, the destruction of your own biosphere. How can we trust a species that cannot even trust itself? Sarah met her gaze without flinching. Because we learned. Because we grew. Because we chose to be better than our past. She gestured to the assembled council. Every species in this hall has a history of violence. The crystalline wars, the hive mind purges, the voidwalker extinction. The difference is, you've had millennia to mature. You're asking us to be perfect before we've had the chance to learn. Learning requires time, High Counselor, Zethkar said, his tone final. Time we cannot afford to give. The mathematical models are clear. Within 500 years, humanity will either destroy itself or become a threat to galactic civilization. Cannot. Gambled the lives of trillions on the hope that you will prove the models wrong. The hall fell silent. Sarah knew this moment would come, had prepared for it, still felt her heart break as she watched her species' future crumble before her eyes. The vote, Zethkar announced. All in favor of Resolution 847C, the mandatory relocation and technological limitation of humanity. One by one, the council members cast their votes. Each eye fell like a hammer blow against Sarah's soul. When the final tally was announced, 847 in favor, 23 opposed, 34 abstentions, she felt something die inside her chest. The resolution passes, Zethkar declared. Humanity will be relocated to designated worlds where they may develop under council supervision. All advanced technology will be confiscated. All starships will be impounded. The transition will begin immediately. Sarah stood motionless for a long moment, letting the verdict wash over her. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper, but in the perfect acoustics of the hall, every word carried to the farthest corners. You've just made the greatest mistake in galactic history, she said. You think you're protecting the galaxy from us? But someday you're going to realize that you needed us more than we needed you. She turned and walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the suddenly quiet hall. As she reached the doors, she paused and looked back at the assembled council. You have 72 hours to implement your verdict, she said. I suggest you use them wisely. The doors closed behind her with a soft whisper, leaving the council to contemplate what they had just set in motion. They had no idea they had just triggered humanity's greatest achievement. Chapter 2. The Impossible Fleet Admiral Marcus Rodriguez had spent 37 years in the human defense fleet. He had never seen anything like the sight before him. From the observation deck of New Geneva Station, he watched as the greatest evacuation in human history unfolded. Before his eyes, ships. Thousands upon thousands of ships. Not the sleek warships of the defense fleet or the massive cargo haulers of the merchant marine. These were different. Civilian vessels that had been appearing in Sol System for the past 48 hours as if materializing from thin air. Colony ships that should have taken decades to build. Transport vessels using technology that shouldn't exist. Medical frigates. Equipped with quantum healing bays that made council technology look primitive? Sir. Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Singh approached him, her dark face flushed with excitement and confusion. The manifest destiny just folded into normal space? She's the size of a small moon, Admiral. And according to her registration, she was commissioned yesterday. Rodriguez adjusted his graying beard and fixed his aide with a steady look. Yesterday? That's impossible. A ship that size would take 50 years to build with our current infrastructure. But yes. Sir, that's what makes it impossible. Singh handed him a data pad. She's here, along with 17 others just like her. And Admiral ... They're beautiful. Rodriguez looked at the data and felt his world shift, according to the manifest. The manifest destiny could house 2 million people in luxury accommodations that exceeded anything the Council species enjoyed. Her fusion reactors were more efficient than anything in Council space. Her quantum drives could achieve speeds that violated several laws of physics. Authorize the construction of these vessels, he asked. That's just it, sir. Nobody did. There are no construction contracts, no material orders, no shipyard assignments. According to all official records, these ships don't exist. Rodriguez walked to the viewport and stared out at the impossible fleet. As he watched, another group of vessels folded into normal space, these smaller, more elegant, designed for long-range exploration rather than mass transport. Their hulls gleamed with an inner light that reminded him of captured starshine. "Get me Director Peterson on a secure channel," he ordered. "If anyone knows what's happening here, it's her." Dr. Elizabeth Peterson appeared on the holographic display. Moments later, her usually immaculate appearance disheveled. The director of Human Advanced Research looked like she hadn't slept in days, and her eyes held a strange mixture of excitement and terror. "Admiral Rodriguez," she said without preamble. "I assume you're calling about the fleet?" could say. Liz, where did these ships come from?" "Our intelligence says the Council is sending their enforcement fleets to begin the relocation. We have 72 hours to comply, and suddenly we have enough ships to evacuate every human in known space." "That's not a coincidence." Peterson was quiet for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "Marcus, what I'm about to tell you is classified beyond any clearance level that officially exists. 30 years ago, the Council sent us an ultimatum through diplomatic channels. They gave us a list of technologies we were forbidden to develop and warned us that any violation would result in immediate military action. I remember. We complied with every restriction they knew about," Peterson corrected. "But Marcus, you have to understand the Council's list was based on their own technological development path. They assumed we would follow the same route they did. But humans, we don't think like them. We don't innovate like them. We took paths they never considered, developed sciences they never imagined." Rodriguez felt a chill run down his spine. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we've been ready for this day for 30 years. Every ship out there, every piece of technology, every contingency planet's all been waiting in quantum storage, hidden in spaces between dimensions where the Council could never detect it." The implications hit Rodriguez like a physical blow. "You're telling me we've been preparing for war?" "No," Peterson said firmly. "We've been preparing to leave. The Council thinks they're relocating us to primitive worlds where we'll stagnate. Under their supervision, they have no idea that we've already found something better. What could be better than the 30 worlds they're offering?" Peterson smiled, and for the first time in days, she looked genuinely happy. "Marcus, have you ever wondered what lies beyond the galactic rim? What's out there in the vast spaces between galaxies?" Rodriguez stared at her, understanding dawning. "Like a cold sunrise, you found something." "We found everything," Peterson whispered. "Untouched worlds, resources beyond imagination, and Marcus, ... We found evidence that we're not the first species to leave the galaxy. The universe is so much bigger and stranger than the Council ever imagined." Before Rodriguez could respond, Lieutenant Commander Singh burst into the observation deck, her face pale with shock. "Admiral, the Council enforcement fleet just dropped out of hyperspace. They're 3 hours early, and they're bigger than we anticipated." Rodriguez looked out the viewport and saw them massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed even humanity's largest vessels, their hulls bristling with weapons designed to crack planets. 12 capital ships accompanied by nearly 100 smaller vessels, all bearing the insignia of the Council's Enforcement Division. "Attention Sol System," a voice boomed across all communication frequencies. "This is High Counselor Zethkar aboard the dreadnought Eternal Judgment. You have been found in violation of resolution 847C. You will stand down all defensive systems and prepare for mandatory relocation. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. Rodriguez watched as the Council fleet moved into position. Around Earth, their weapons charging with ominous light. Then he looked at the impossible human fleet, thousands of ships that shouldn't exist, carrying technology that defied understanding. "Director," he said quietly, "I hope your people know what they're doing." Peterson's smile widened. "Admiral, we've had 30 years to get this right. Trust me, the Council is about to learn why humanity never should have been underestimated." As if on cue, every human ship in the system began to move. Not toward the Council fleet in an attack formation, but in perfect, synchronized harmony. Toward the edge of the solar system. It was beautiful and terrifying. It's like watching a flock of metal birds take flight toward the stars. The Great Escape had begun. Chapter 3. The Breaking Point. High Counselor Zethkar stood on the bridge of the Eternal Judgment, watching the impossible sight unfold before him. Through the massive viewport, thousands of human vessels moved in perfect formation toward the edge of the solar system. Should have been a rout. The Council enforcement fleet was designed to cow primitive species into submission. Instead, Zethkar felt something he hadn't experienced in his 3,000-year lifespan. Uncertainty. "Communications?" he barked, his crystalline voice echoing. Across the bridge, hailed the human fleet. "Demand immediate compliance." Communications Officer Drelelsh, a four-armed insectoid whose species had served the Council for millennia, worked frantically at his station. "Sir, I'm transmitting on all frequencies, but the humans are ignoring us completely. Then target their lead vessels. Warning shots. Show them we mean business." "Weapons, Master Korin," a massive creature whose species had evolved in high gravity rumbled his acknowledgement. "Charging primary batteries." "High Counselor." Targeting the largest human vessel, the Eternal Judgment's main guns swiveled toward the Manifest Destiny, their energy cores building to destructive potential. Red targeting beams lanced across space, painting the human colony ship's hull with lethal precision. "Fire," Zethkar commanded. The dreadnought's primary batteries unleashed a stream of coherent energy that could vaporize a city block. The beams struck the Manifest Destiny dead center ... and vanished. Not deflected, not absorbed, simply gone, as if it had never existed. "What?" Korin's massive hands flew across his instruments. "Sir, the energy beam just ... disappeared. My sensors show no defensive systems. No shields, no energy signature at all. Impossible," Zethkar breathed. "Fire again. Full power."
Ow.
This time, 6 energy beams lanced out from the Council dreadnought. Carrying enough destructive force to crack a continent, they struck the human ship and vanished without a trace, leaving not even a scorch mark on the hull. Behind Zethkar, Council member Vishara uncoiled from her biopod, her serpentine form tense with alarm. "High Counselor, what defensive technology are they using?" "I don't know," Zethkar admitted, and the words tasted like ash in his mouth. "Communications. Get me Ambassador Chen. Now." The holographic display flickered to life, showing Sarah Chen standing on what appeared to be the bridge of a human vessel. But something was different about her. Gone was the defeated resignation from the trial. In its place was a calm confidence that made Zethkar's 3 hearts skip. "Hi, Counselor," she said pleasantly. "I was wondering when you'd call Ambassador Chen. What is the meaning of this? Your vessels are in violation of Council Resolution 847C. You will halt immediately and prepare for boarding." Sarah's smile was patient, almost pitying. "I'm afraid that's not going to happen, Zethkar. You see, we've decided to decline your generous offer of relocation. This is not a negotiation." This crystalline form flared with angry light. "We have superior firepower, superior numbers. You cannot resist the Council's will. Superior." Sarah tilted her head curiously. "You fired on one of our ships? How did that work out for you?" Zethkar felt a chill that had nothing to do with the bridge's environmental systems. "What technology are you using? Those defensive systems violate 12 different galactic treaties." "Funny thing about treaties," Sarah said conversationally. "They only apply to signatory species. And as of she checked her chronometer 17 minutes ago, humanity formally withdrew from the Galactic Council. We're no longer bound by your laws, your treaties, or your authority. You cannot simply withdraw from the Council. Actually, we can. Article 347 of the Council Charter. Any species may withdraw from Council membership with formal notification, which has transmitted our withdrawal across the entire galactic communication network. Sarah's smile widened. Approximately 14 billion sentient beings across the galaxy just learned that humanity quit the Council, rather than submit to forced relocation. I imagine that's causing quite a stir in diplomatic circles. Zethkar's mind reeled. No species had ever withdrawn from the Council. The very idea was unthinkable. The Council represented order, stability, the rule of law across the galaxy. Without it, there was only chaos. "Where will you go?" he demanded. "The Council controls every habitable world in the galaxy. You cannot survive without our support." "That's where you're wrong," Sarah said softly. "You see, Zethkar, you and the Council made a fundamental error in judgment. You assumed that because we're young, we're weak, because we're small, we're insignificant, because we needed your guidance, we were incapable of finding our own path. The galaxy beyond Council space is empty wasteland. Radiation, dark matter, storms, gravitational anomalies that will tear your ships apart." "The galaxy beyond Council space," Sarah corrected, "is unexplored. There's a difference. And speaking of exploration, ... The holographic display behind Sarah shifted, showing a star map unlike anything Zethkar had ever seen. Not the familiar spiral of the Milky Way, but something vast and strange, galaxies beyond count, spinning in the cosmic dark like islands of light in an infinite ocean. For 30 years, while you debated our fate, we've been preparing for this day. We sent out exploration fleets using technology you never detected, following paths you never imagined. And what we found out there?" Sarah's voice filled with wonder. "What we found out there makes your little corner of one galaxy look like a drop of water in an endless sea." "Impossible," Zethkar whispered. "Intergalactic travel is theoretical at best. The energy requirements alone are well within our capabilities," Sarah finished. "You see, High Counselor, the Council made another error. You assumed we would develop along the same technological paths as every other species. But humans don't think like other species. We don't innovate like other species. We took roads you never imagined and discovered sciences you never dreamed of." Behind Zethkar, the bridge crew worked frantically at their stations. Sir Communications Officer Drails called out, his voice tight with panic. "I'm receiving reports from across the galaxy. Human colonies everywhere are ... disappearing, not destroyed, just ... gone." "What do you mean, gone?" "Are empty, sir. No structures, no people, no sign they were ever there. It's like they just ... vanished." Zethkar felt reality shift around him. This wasn't just the evacuation of Earth. This was the disappearance of an entire species from galactic civilization. "You're removing everyone," he said in a voice barely above a whisper. "Every human in Council space," Sarah confirmed. "All 30 billion of us. We tried to be good neighbors, Zethkar. We tried to follow your rules, respect your authority, prove we could be trusted. But you made it clear that there was no place for us in your vision of the galaxy." "Wait," Zethkar said, desperation creeping into his voice. "Perhaps we can reconsider." "The vote was close. There may be room for negotiation too late," Sarah said, and her voice carried a finality that made Zethkar's crystalline form dim. "You had 50 years to see us as we truly are. Instead, you chose to see us as you feared. We might become... That choice has consequences." "You don't understand," Zethkar pleaded. "Without the Council's guidance, without our protection, the galaxy will descend into chaos. You're abandoning trillions of innocent beings to their fate." For the first time, Sarah's composure cracked slightly. "You think we're abandoning them?" "Zethkar, we tried to help. We offered our medical technology freely. We shared our scientific discoveries. We asked for nothing but acceptance, and you rewarded our generosity with exile." She straightened, and when she spoke again, her voice was firm. "We're not abandoning the galaxy. We're leaving it in the hands of the Council that believes it knows best. Good luck with that." "Wait," Zethkar called out, but the holographic display was already fading. "Can't just..." But Sarah Chen was gone, and with her, humanity's last tie to the galactic community. On the bridge of the eternal judgment, alarms began to sound. Through the viewport, Zethkar watched as the last human ships reached the edge of the solar system. Space around them began to shimmer and twist, reality bending in ways that violated everything the Council thought they knew about physics. "Sir," Sensors operator Yelmoth called out, her gelatinous form quivering with alarm. "I'm detecting massive gravitational distortions around the human fleet. Energy readings are off the scale. It's like they're opening doorways." In space itself, Zethkar watched in horrified fascination as tears appeared in the fabric of space-time, revealing glimpses of something beyond not hyperspace, not subspace, but something else entirely. Something that led away from the galaxy itself. One by one, the human ships disappeared into those impossible openings. And as each ship vanished, the tears sealed themselves, leaving no trace they had ever existed. The last ship to disappear was Earth's governmental vessel, carrying Ambassador Sarah Chen, as it approached the final rift. A transmission reached the Council fleet, not words, but pure mathematical data. Equations that described the relationship between consciousness and reality. Formulas that revealed the universe's deepest secrets. Scientific principles that would advance Council civilization by centuries. It was humanity's final gift to the galaxy they were leaving behind. When the last ship vanished and the final rift sealed, the solar system fell silent. Earth hung in space like a blue jewel, pristine and empty, its cities abandoned but intact. Waiting for someone else to call it home, High Counselor Zethkar stood on his bridge, staring at the empty space where humanity had made its impossible escape. Around him, his crew worked frantically to understand what they had witnessed. But Zethkar knew the terrible truth. They had just watched the most promising species in galactic history walk away forever. And the worst part was, humanity had been right to do it. The Council had failed in their most fundamental duty, to nurture and guide emerging civilizations. Instead, they had driven away the one species that might have helped them evolve beyond their own limitations. As reports came in from across the galaxy, empty human colonies, abandoned research stations, silence where once there had been vibrant human communities, Zethkar felt the weight of history settling on his shoulders. He had lived for 3,000 years, had seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations. But this was different. This wasn't the end of a species. This was the beginning of humanity's true story, and the Council would spend the rest of their existence wondering what they had lost. Chapter 4, The New Horizon, **6. Months later, Andromeda Galaxy, *** Commander. Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of New Hope Station, watching the impossible sight spread out before her. The Andromeda Galaxy hung in the cosmic distance like a spiral of captured stars, its arms stretching across the void in patterns that spoke of ancient mysteries and endless possibilities. But it wasn't the galaxy itself that took her. It was what humanity had built in the space between galaxies. "Status report," she called to her second-in-command. Lieutenant David Park, a young man whose parents had been among the last to evacuate from Luna Colony. "All 37 seed fleets have established their initial waypoints," Park reported, consulting his holographic display. "The Pioneer's dream has found 17 potentially habitable worlds in the Sculptor Galaxy. The Endless Journey is reporting first contact with non-hostile indigenous life in the Fornax cluster, and Elena... paused, his voice filled with wonder. "The Deep Space Telescopes are picking up signals? What kind of signals? The kind we hope to find." Park's eyes were bright with excitement. "We're not the first, Commander. We're not the first species to leave our home galaxy behind." Elena felt her heart race. During the 50 years of Earth's trial, their secret deep space probes had detected tantalizing hints, energy signatures in the cosmic void, mathematical patterns and background radiation, signs that the universe held secrets the Council never imagined. Now in the vast spaces between galaxies, those hints were becoming reality. "Put it on the main display," she ordered. The observation deck's massive holographic projector came to life, showing data streams that pulsed with alien intelligence. Not the familiar patterns of Council species. This was something else. Something older. something vast. Computer analysis suggests at least 17 distinct technological signatures, Park continued, all of them emanating from the galactic void, Alina. There's an entire civilization out here, maybe dozens of civilizations. Alina stared at the data, her mind racing with possibilities. Do we have any idea who they are? That's where it gets interesting. Park manipulated the display, showing a three-dimensional map of the local galactic group. Signals aren't random. They're forming a pattern and network that connects hundreds of smaller galaxies and galaxy clusters. It's like there's an intergalactic community out here. Community we never knew existed. Community the Council never knew existed. Park corrected. But Alina, according to the pattern analysis, this network has been active for millions of years. These civilizations have been out here all along, building something incredible, while species like the Council stayed locked in their single galaxy, convinced they were the center of the universe. Alina thought about High Counselor Zethkar and his 3,000-year lifespan, about the Council's certainty that they represented the pinnacle of galactic civilization. How small they must seem from this perspective, a single specie. Ease in a single galaxy, governing a handful of stellar neighborhoods, while the real universe sprawled endlessly around them. Any response to our own transmissions? That's the best part. Park's smile was infectious. We've received 17 distinct welcome messages, all of them in mathematical languages we can understand, all of them expressing curiosity about humanity. Alina, they want to meet us. Before Alina could respond, the station's communication system chimed with an incoming priority transmission. The holographic display shifted, showing a familiar face director, Elizabeth Peterson. Transmitting from the research vessel Breakthrough, somewhere in the cosmic dark, Commander Vasquez, Peterson said, her voice carrying across the light years with crystalline clarity. I hope you're sitting down, because what we found out here is going to change everything, humanity thought. We knew about the universe. Dr. Peterson, Alina replied, you have our full attention. 6 months ago, when we made our escape from Council space, we thought we were refugees seeking a new home in the cosmic wilderness. We were wrong. Peterson's image flickered as the quantum transmission adjusted for cosmic interference. Alina, we weren't refugees. We were ... graduates. I don't understand. The signals we've been detecting, the intergalactic network, the civilizations in the void, they're not alien to us. They're what we're supposed to become. Peterson's excitement was palpable. Lena, every species that reaches a certain level of technological and social development eventually faces the same choice humanity just made. Stay in their birth galaxy under the control of elder species who've become stagnant, or step out into the greater universe and join the real community of advanced civilizations. Alina felt the universe shift around her as the implications sank in. You're saying the Council isn't the pinnacle of galactic civilization? They think, what, a nursery? More like a planetary system that refuses to explore interstellar space. Peterson corrected. Alina, the civilizations out here aren't just more advanced than the Council. They're operating on principles the Council never imagined. Matter manipulation at the quantum level. Consciousness transfer across galactic distances. Technologies that make our impossible fleet look like stone tools. And they want to share this with us? They want to teach us? Just like we'll eventually teach the species that come after us? Peterson paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was soft with wonder. Alina, we thought we were escaping persecution. But we were actually ... growing up. The transmission ended, leaving Alina and Park standing in stunned silence on the observation deck around them. New Hope Station hummed with activity as 30 billion humans began the process of adapting to their new reality. Below them, the first generation of children born in intergalactic space played in gardens that grew under artificial suns. Unaware that they represented the beginning of humanity's true story, Commander Park said quietly, there's something else. We've been monitoring Council space through our deep probe network. Would you like to know what's happening back home? Lena nodded, though part of her dreaded the answer. The Council is ... struggling. Without humanity's medical technology, the plague on Zarian 7 has spread to 3 more systems. Without our agricultural innovations, the food crisis in the Outer Rim is approaching famine levels. And without our diplomatic expertise, double quotes, Park hesitated. Alina, 17 member species have withdrawn from the Council in the past 6 months. They're calling it the Great Unraveling. Alina closed her eyes, feeling a pang of guilt despite everything. Are they trying to contact us? Daily High Counselor Zethkar himself has sent over 300 messages. They range from formal apologies to desperate pleas for assistance. He's offering complete autonomy, unlimited resources, anything we want if we'll just come back. And our response? Silence, Park said simply. The Leadership Council decided that humanity needs time to establish itself in our new environment before we consider any contact with our old galaxy. But Alina, some of the messages are heartbreaking. Zethkar admits they made a mistake. He says the Council has learned from their error and wants a chance to make amends. Alina opened her eyes and looked out at the Andromeda galaxy, its spiral, arms slowly turning in the cosmic distance. Somewhere in that galaxy, new species were taking their first steps into space. In a few million years, they would face the same choice humanity had faced: submit to the control of elder species, or step out into the greater universe. When that time came, humanity would be waiting for them, not as conquerors or controllers, but as guides and teachers, as the Council should have been. Park, she said finally, make a note in the official log. 6 months after our departure from Council space, humanity has established 17 permanent settlements in intergalactic space and made contact with 43 advanced civilizations. We are no longer refugees. We are pioneers. Yes, ma'am. And the Council's messages? Alina thought about High Counselor Zethkar in his crystalline form. About the fear in his ancient eyes when he realized what humanity had achieved, she thought. About Ambassador Sarah Chen and her quiet dignity in the face of galactic rejection. She thought about the 30 billion humans who had chosen an uncertain future over comfortable imprisonment. File them under historical archives, she said. Someday, when we're ready, we might teach the Council what we've learned out here. But for now, we have a universe to explore. As if responding to her words, the station's long-range sensors detected another signal from the cosmic deep, one carrying an invitation to visit a civilization that had been waiting 3 million years for humanity. To join them among the stars, Alina smiled and gave the order to set course for infinity. Behind them, the Milky Way turned slowly in the cosmic distance, its spiral arms bright with the light of 1 trillion stars. Somewhere in those arms, the Galactic Council struggled to maintain order in a galaxy that suddenly seemed much smaller and lonelier than it had 6 months ago. They had no idea that humanity was just getting started. #, epilogue. The Longview *** 50. Years later, the nexus between galaxies *** High Counselor Zethkar was dying. After 51 centuries of existence, his crystalline form had begun to dim, his inner light fading like a star reaching the end of its nuclear fuel. By the standards of his species, he had lived a long and distinguished life. He had guided the Council through 3 major galactic crises, overseen the integration of 47 new species, and maintained galactic peace for longer than most civilizations had existed. But as he lay in his bioregeneration chamber aboard the medical station Eternal Mercy, only one thought occupied his failing consciousness. He had made the greatest mistake in galactic history, the 50 years since. Humanity's departure had not been kind to the Galactic Council. What the historians now called the Great Unraveling had seen nearly 1/3 of member species withdraw from Council governance, seeking their own paths among the stars. The carefully maintained balance of galactic civilization had collapsed, leaving behind a patchwork of independent systems struggling to maintain order without the Council's guiding hand. High Counselor, a gentle voice called from beside his chamber. Dr. Yelandra, the Council's chief medical officer, checked his readings with professional concern. You have a visitor? Zethkar managed to focus his dimming vision on the figure. Standing at the foot of his chamber, Alien was humanoid, but clearly not human taller, with silver skin that seemed to hold its own inner light. and eyes that held depths of wisdom that made even Zethkar's ancient consciousness feel young. Who, double, quotes, he managed to whisper. My name is Kelthius, the visitor said, his voice carrying harmonics that spoke of technologies beyond council understanding. I represent the Intergalactic Assembly. I believe you knew my teachers as humanity. Zethkar's 3 hearts, weak as they were, managed one strong synchronized beat. Humanity, sent you. In a manner of speaking. Kelthies moved closer, and Zethkar could see that his silver skin was inscribed with flowing symbols that seemed to shift and change as he watched. I am Altarian, from the Vega cluster in what you call the Andromeda Galaxy. My species achieved spaceflight 300 years ago, when we faced the choice between remaining under the control of our galaxy's elder species or stepping out into the greater universe. Ow. To guide us, they, they survived. They thrived. More than survived, High Counselor. They became what they were always meant to be: teachers, explorers, bridges between civilizations. The Intergalactic Assembly now includes species from 47 different galaxies, all working together to explore the cosmos and nurture younger civilizations. Kelthies paused. This, the Council once tried to do, but with a fundamental difference in philosophy. What, difference? We believe in graduation, not domination. When a species reaches sufficient maturity, we invite them to join us among the stars. We don't force them to remain children forever. Kelthi's eyes held no accusation, only sadness. High Counselor, the Assembly has been watching the Milky Way's decline with great concern. Many species have suffered because of the Council's rigid control structure. Zethkar felt shame burning in his crystalline core. We were trying to maintain order, to prevent chaos. By preventing growth, Kelthy said gently. High Counselor, would you like to know what humanity has become? Despite his weakness, Zethkar managed to nod. Kelthies gestured, and the air above Zethkar's chamber filled with holographic images that defied belief. Vast structures spanning the spaces between galaxies, their biomechanical forms pulsing with life and purpose. Cities that existed in folded space-time, housing trillions of beings in perfect harmony. Ships that weren't ships but living entities, carrying entire civilizations across the cosmic void in journeys of exploration and discovery. This is the Nexus, Kelthies explained. Humanity's greatest achievement. A living network that connects civilizations across the observable universe. Every species that joins the Assembly contributes their unique gifts to the whole, and in return, they gain access to knowledge and experiences beyond imagination. And the the younger species, those still developing, we watch over them with patience and wisdom, Kelthius said. When they're ready, we invite them to join us. When they're not, we wait. We don't force our protection on them, and we don't stunt their growth out of fear. Zethkar closed his eyes, feeling the weight of 50 years of regret. What, what do you want from me? Nothing, Kelthius said, and his voice was infinitely kind. I came here to deliver a message from Ambassador Sarah Chen. She's single, quotes. Still alive? Sarah Chen died peacefully in her sleep 43 years ago, at the age of 96. She spent her final decades establishing the Academy of Interspecies Understanding, where promising individuals from young civilizations learn to think beyond the boundaries of their birth cultures. Kelthies paused. Before her death, she left specific instructions regarding the Milky Way galaxy and the Galactic Council. What were her instructions? That when the time was right, when the Council was ready to learn rather than control, the Assembly would return to offer guidance. Kelthies met Zethkar's dimming gaze. High Counselor Sarah Chen forgave the Council for their mistake. More than that, she understood why you made it. A fear of the unknown, desire for control, the belief that your way was the only way. These are common mistakes among elder species. The Council is failing, Zethkar whispered. Without humanities, innovations, without their perspective, we're making the same errors over and over. The galaxy is fragmenting. Which is why I'm here, Kelthes said. High Counselor, the Intergalactic Assembly would like to offer the Galactic Council a choice. Continue down your current path and watch your civilization slowly decline into irrelevance, or accept guidance from those who have learned to think beyond the boundaries of a single galaxy. Zethkar felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Hope. You would ... help us? After what we did to humanity? We would teach you, Kelthes corrected. It's just as humanity was taught by those who came before them. But High Counselor, the choice must be made freely. The Assembly will not force wisdom on those who aren't ready to receive it. What would this guidance involve? First, a fundamental change in how the Council views its role. Instead of controllers, you would become facilitators. Instead of rulers, you would become teachers. The member species of the Council would be given true autonomy, with the Council serving as advisors rather than dictators. Zethkar felt his crystalline form dim further as his energy reserves reached their limit, and ... if we refuse. The Assembly will respect your choice and withdraw from Milky Way space. The galaxy's future will remain in your hands, whatever that future may be. Kelthes leaned closer. But High Counselor, I hope you won't refuse. The universe is vast and full of wonders, but it's also dangerous. Young civilizations need guidance to survive and thrive. The Council could be that guidance if they chose to learn from their mistakes. Am dying? Zethkar whispered. This choice? It should be made by ... my successor. Actually, Kelthes said with a gentle smile, the Assembly has developed technologies that could extend your life considerably. If you chose to accept our guidance, you could live to see the galaxy transformed into something beautiful. You could witness the birth of a new age of exploration and cooperation. Zethkar closed his eyes and thought about the past 50 years. The growing isolation of the Council. The departure of member species seeking their own paths. Decay of the galactic civilization he had spent his life trying to preserve. Then he thought about humanity, a young, perfect species that had chosen growth over safety, exploration over control, hope over fear. They had stepped out into the cosmic unknown and discovered wonders beyond. Imagination. Perhaps it was time for the Council to make the same choice. What, he asked quietly, would Ambassador Chen want me to do? Kelthes smiled in his silver features seemed to glow with inner light. She would want you to choose growth. She would want you to embrace the possibility that the universe is bigger and more wonderful than you ever imagined. She would want you to trust in the potential of younger species to surprise you, and if the Council makes this choice, if we accept your guidance, ... what happens then? Then the real work begins, Kelthes said, rebuilding trust with the species that left the Council, learning new ways of thinking about governance and growth, preparing for the day when the Milky Way galaxy joins the Intergalactic Assembly as an equal partner rather than a struggling dependency. Zethkar felt his consciousness beginning to fade, but with it came a peace he hadn't known in 50 years. Tell the Assembly, he whispered, that High Counselor Zethkar of the Galactic Council formally requests guidance. Tell them that we are ready to learn from our mistakes, Will Kelthes promised. And High Counselor, Sarah Chen left one final message for you personally. What ... What did she say? She said to remember that wisdom isn't about avoiding mistakes, it's about learning from them. The Council made an error in judgment 50 years ago, but that error led to humanity's greatest achievement. Perhaps your mistake was exactly what the universe needed to happen. Zethkar's crystalline form pulsed one final time with bright, clear light. As his consciousness faded, he felt something he had never experienced before, the sense that he was part of something larger than himself, larger than his species, larger than his galaxy. He was part of a universe that was vast and strange and full of infinite possibilities. And for the first time in 50 years, that didn't frighten him. It filled him with wonder.